and welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Lunatics. It's me, Phil. Lilith is here. Justin is here.
Woohoo.
And it's a big episode. We're joined by, well, two special guests now to talk all things Spider-Girl. It's Tom DeFalco, Ron Frenz, and Pat Olliffe was supposed to join us, but Ron scared him away.
Sounds about right.
Nice. Nice.
Yes, he was mocking you the whole time we were waiting, Pat. All right. Yes. So I wanted to, talk to both of you. I mean, I've talked to Ron a few times. Tom, me, and Justin talked to you a while back. But yeah, we were like, we have to talk to these two. And I figured, hey, it's May. Let's talk some Maydays. So
Yeah.
Talk some
Perfect
Spider-Girl.
Yeah.
All right. So for those who may not remember, the whole Mayday story started in an issue of What If, Volume 2. So by you two gentlemen, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. Tom said.
Well, tell them the whole story, Tom. The whole
Tom's
story about how you were working on the infamous Clone Saga. And the idea.
Why do you always have to bring up the Clone Saga?
Really? Yes.
And the idea
It's a drop,
of
Phil.
having a child, it never left you and it stuck with you, and you started to imagine what the child would be like, and it grew into an idea that could not be denied.
Oh,
And
my.
that's kind of the truth.
I know. I
Yeah,
speak the truth, Tom.
I know.
We're not
Brutally
here to lie. We're not here to lie to the people.
Oh, sure we are.
Oh,
We're storytellers. All we do, we lie for a living.
let's try
Hey,
to
not
make
to
it
get-
more interesting then, shall we?
Not to get too far off track, but one, I love the Clone Saga, but two, I mean, I love your guys' original Amazing Spider-Man run, but another underrated Amazing Spider-Man run is Tom's run after the Clone Saga.
Mm-hmm.
With other people.
I know he left you behind.
You aren't on this podcast right now.
Yeah, but that's because you were working on that guy with the cape.
That never.
Which got me most recently on the Capes and Lunatic podcast
Oh, okay.
with these highly skilled professionals talking about my short tenure there before I was shit canned and sent running back to Marvel, where you and I co-created Spider-Girl.
Oh, hold on. There's Pat. Hold on. There's
Hello,
Pat.
everybody.
Hello.
Finally. Oh, you're here.
Wow.
Ron's been talking smack on you, like, oh, why can't he figure it out?
Well, it's because I'm a moron. That's the first part.
I didn't say
My goodness. My brain hurts now. I won't be able to answer any questions because all my brain cells went into this.
that. He's lying.
So what were we talking about?
Well, we just started. We just got into, the beginnings of Spider-Girl, how she first.
Oh, I thought this was an X-Men podcast. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Yes. So, and the origins. Yes. So I'll listen to Tom and Ron talk about that.
All right. So,
So the bottom line was I was assigned to write What If. So I had to come up with what if stories, and the Spider-Girl was one of the stories. And to our surprise, that issue sold very well. And it fit into something that Marvel wanted to do at that time, which was come up with comic books that they could sell to the mass market, because most of their other comic books were unreadable at the time. Much like today. This isn't being recorded, is it?
Falco out making friends in the industry.
hey, honestly, literally, I saw people talking today about, Amazing Spider-Man 1000 is coming soon, and I saw somebody online say, you know what? There's no Mark Bagley, there's no Ron Frenz. I'm not getting it.
Yep.
Yep. There's no Tom DeFalco either.
Exactly.
And they also had a special, Mary Jane issue, and they didn't invite, Ron and I to be on the Mary Jane thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Terrible.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Always been my ambition to be on a Mary Jane thing.
There's a drop low.
Now, in their defense, I think at one point they asked me, "Hey, you want to do more Spider-Man stories?" And I said, "The world does not need another Spider-Man story by Tom DeFalco."
No, that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true.
Thank you, Lilith.
Yeah, well,
You should have been like, yeah, can I bring the
Was
marriage
this before
back?
or
Can I bring the
after?
marriage back?
Was this before or after you did the miniseries, the Secret Wars miniseries with Pat that starred Spider-Man?
well, that that was the Secret Wars. Yes, it featured Spider-Man, but that convinced me I didn't have to do any more.
Is this episode going to be Ron going? Remember that other time you picked Pat over me? Yeah.
Uh-oh. Maybe I should leave.
That reminds me, Pat.
Uh-oh. This isn't good. I've only been here for like 4 minutes. What did I do?
And you might
What?
get work out of it, so leave it alone.
Pat, our 8-page story just became a 9-page story.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't
Yeah.
even know. Okay, so that means they're interested. All right, nice. I'll take it.
They're going to talk to the publisher tomorrow. So
Very good. All right. Well, keep me posted. And I got a daughter in college, so I need the work.
okay.
Oh, breaking news, or is it still top secret?
Why don't you two get a room?
All right. Anyway, Spider-Girl. So yeah, the What If issue is very popular, and then they wanted their own series. They wanted her own series. So is that how they started the MC2 universe? They started out
Yeah,
with
the-
Spider-Girl. Now
the-
we need more.
What Tom was referring to is what they wanted to do is they wanted to do the, remember those old comics in a plastic bag thing? And they wanted to do 3 comics in a plastic bag to mass market like Walmarts and
Kmart.
clubs and all that kind of stuff.
Target. Yeah.
That was the original plan for the MC2, which is why it was second generation and younger characters and trying to bring in new readers. And so that was the original plan. Unfortunately, the sales force kind of fumbled the ball. And, we never got that. So the most we got was the regular racks, and the books were never really tailored for the regular racks. So only Spider-Girl survived past the initial. What was the initial pitch, Tom? It was like
12 or something.
3 issues.
They asked originally if we could do 6 issues of each of the titles. And I said, yeah, sure. And then as we got around to the 4th or 5th issue, they said, these things are selling pretty well. Can you do 6 more? And my attitude. Yeah, sure. And then
wasn't that the whole story with Spider-Girl? They kept doing that to you, be like, "Oh yeah, okay, well, we might not renew it," and then it's like, "Oh yeah, give us 6 more issues. Give us 6 more issues."
that's kind of the story with Spider-Girl. It deals with the economics in the direct market. Sales in the direct market tend only to go down. So the sales department would look at, our current sales, and then they figure out, in about 8 months, this book is, going to be at the level that it should be canceled. So they would announce it was going to be canceled, and then 8 months would go by, and then they'd look at it and go, I remember they called me up and they said, something's wrong with your Spider-Girl numbers. And I said, what do you mean? They said they went up, they didn't go down. And I said, isn't that a good thing? Yeah, but in the direct market, they only go down. I said, then how did we go up? Well, that's why we're calling you. And I'm thinking, the hell do I know?
Good storytelling with the old school approach. Who would have thought?
Yeah. But, that's how we, kept going for about 13 years.
I mean, that's incredible too. It's like, it started late 90s and then into the 2000s. And again, what book gets to 100 issues at that point?
Post 95, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And with a female lead, no less.
I know. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't think anyone besides Wonder Woman can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had a head start.
Yeah.
Big head start. All right. So then we get the Spider-Girl series, but It's not Tom. It's Pat or Ron. It's Pat.
Wah, wah.
And ridiculously enough, that there was some question about that, but no, when it was decided what the other two books were going to be, Avengers A Next and
Little Juggernaut.
Little Juggernaut.
which, by the way, in real quick, is the whole Spider-Girl pitch for that What If. There's like one panel where they show a team of Avengers, where Pete goes to Avengers Mansion to try to enlist some help, and we showed, just for a panel, we showed the Avengers of that time period, and I threw in a design that I had up on my wall since Thunderstrike had been canceled of what Kevin, the next generation of Thunderstrike, would look like. So I threw him into the panel, along with a few other people that we threw in, one being the Juggernaut. In the original drawing, the original intent, it was Juggernaut. But the editor-in-chief at the time said that he really liked the idea of doing 2 more titles from this era, and maybe one of them should be that Junior Juggernaut.
Little Juggernaut, he called him.
Little Juggernaut from that panel. And Tom went, "Oh, yeah, sure. Little
Sure.
And
And
then
then I called up Ron and I said, "Who the hell is Little Juggernaut?"
so we walked to the phone and he called me and he said, one of the books is going to be Juggernaut Jr. And I said, "Who's Juggernaut Jr.?" And he said, "That's what I said."
You figure it out.
But yeah, so we had to come up with Juggernaut Jr. The editor already thought we had come up with Juggernaut Jr., but we had to come up with J2 on the fly.
I love that.
Handed it off to Ron Lim to do a fantastic job with it. And I selfishly wanted to do, if Kevin Masterson was going to be in the regular A Next book, I wanted to follow him over to that. I wanted to have a hand in that. And Pat had just come off of Untold Tales of Spider-Man and had made a name for himself on that. So we knew we were in good shape with somebody to do Spider-Girl. That same editor-in-chief initially was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, Ron did the What If. Maybe he should do Spider-Girl. And everybody, was kind of thinking that was more natural. And Pat would have been fine with that because he wanted to do big, strong guys punching each other. But I stood my ground, really wanted to do Kevin and Thunderstrike. So I took A Next, and Pat stepped in to do a fantastic job and show me up on Spider-Girl.
Go on, you big
He's
lug.
like, no, seriously, do go on.
Oh, it's true. The book was in very, very good hands.
I do remember. I think that that there was some trepidation about me coming onto the book. That I think the first issue, I think it was kind of like the first handful of pages was kind of like a tryout kind of thing, and like they were gonna like look at it. If I did a good enough job, it would keep me on, and obviously, I did good enough job for what they wanted, so I was happy that I got the job.
Yeah, except they never told me that they were going to look at that.
Yeah,
You were the editor, though.
I was the editor, and of those 3 books.
The first year.
Remember,
edited the book.
I got a call and they said, "We looked over what Pat did. I think we're going to keep him on the book."
yeah.
And I said, "What?" I said, "Don't you want to keep him?" I said, "Yeah, I never thought that was in doubt."
So I earned my keep right off the bat.
Yep.
I mean, Ron, I'm glad you mentioned Untold Tales of Spider-Man. Pat, the first thing when I hear your name, that's the first thing I always think about is Untold Tales of Spider-Man. I love that book.
Well, thank you.
I love there's like any question that you could do a Spider-Girl book. I'm like, he did, 20-some issues of Untold Tales of Spider-Man. Why couldn't he do a Spider-Man?
Yeah, he did a terrific Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And he draws stunningly beautiful women. So I don't think we're going to have a problem here. And we did.
Well, none of you were the editor-in-chief at the time, so.
That's true.
The editor-in-chief at the time didn't like any of us.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's there's something to be said for that too.
they're like, "Can you draw with a computer?" Yeah, that's what we want.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, I was very happy to be on board. Very happy to be on board.
You know,
Yeah, and I forget you. I mean, you were on there for a while. I mean, how many issues of Spider-Girl did you do, Pat?
I can't remember what my last issue number was, but it's like 4.5 years, 4.5, something like that.
More than
some
Steve
odd
Ditko
issues.
did of Amazing.
What's that?
More than Steve Ditko did of Amazing.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, you were up. You did the 50th issue. You were up way past
Yeah.
Yeah.
50. You
Yeah,
made it.
I can't remember exactly which was the last issue I did, but yeah, I mean, it was certainly a nice long run. I mean, it's not something that you really see anymore. I mean, but that was when I was collecting comics when I was a kid, and that's what I loved about it. I mean, a monthly comic, you knew who was going to be there every month. The writer artists were there. They developed the characters. They created the worlds that you became involved with, and so the idea of getting the chance to sit on a book and get used to the characters and the world and all that kind of stuff. That's what I always wanted to do. So getting a chance to have a nice run like that was great.
It was issue 59. They gypped you. They couldn't give you the 60.
Oh, see, yeah, they're always screwing with me. That's a good run. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, over half that
And
original
that last
run.
cover was amazing. Season of the Serpent, where she's on fire. That's a really great one.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
cool. Thanks.
yeah.
Well, he had some covers banked because a couple of the issues that I did, he did the covers for.
Yeah. There was that kind of a transition thing at the end there.
Because he left of his own volition. Well, no, because the book was going through one of its cancellations where they guaranteed you that the book was going to be canceled.
Yes, they
You
did.
were offered other work.
I was.
Yes.
Because this time there was no doubt about it. There was no
Yeah.
coming back. This is it. There isn't any chance of saving it this time. So we'll move you off to this other book.
Oh yeah.
And then, as we all know and finally remember, the juggernaut that was The Call. But then that was the book they were going to move me on to. And then for the last handful of issues, they were going to have Ron finish out the run on Spider-Girl. And then they said that, oh, wait a second, the sales are actually good enough to continue Spider-Girl. So Spider-Girl will continue after all. And oh, yeah, the numbers on your book are terrible. It's going to be canceled before the first issue comes out. So that's basically how I ended up off of Spider-Girl.
Is that pre-orders? I'm like, how are numbers bad if it's before the first issue?
They were bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were bad.
But the reason he took the job was one of the reasons he took the job, besides Spider-Girl supposedly being canceled, was that it was going to put him on the radar with the powers that be at Marvel at that point. Weren't you going to be working with the publisher or something like that? Or
No, that The Call was going to be a tie-in to some kind of video game or something like that. I wasn't linked into the publisher or anything, but it was a project that they thought was going to have legs and was going to last for a little while. Clearly they were wrong, but
you did end up doing more work with there was the publisher that also wanted to be a creative, and you did the Submariner deal with him.
Bill Jemis.
You did the Submariner set in the 20s and stuff with him and all this kind of jazz.
well, I don't know if I think Bill Jemis was in charge at that point, and I got work while he was in charge. But yeah, I mean, the projects I worked on, we had separate editors, and I never actually worked specifically with Bill Jemis, but I know he was in charge and that he liked my work and when shuffled some projects my way.
Yeah, I remember. I know I was thinking for you that, it's going to put him in good with the people that are running things these days, because that was a very weird.
It was a weird time. Yeah. Yes.
And I was shocked that they actually called me to wrap up the last few issues because it kind of made sense. And because it made sense, I wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when Tom called and said that, and you can tell that story, Tom, when he called to say we weren't canceled again, my first response was, well, then Pat's coming back on, right? And they said, well, he's working on other projects. He's fine. I said, did he say that?
No.
But, and I kind of ended up with the book by default, you know. It wasn't until we were almost canceled and renewed another 2 or 3 times that I felt like it was based on my own work and not what you had been doing. So,
And you ended up, I mean, how many issues? So if I did 59, well, I mean,
you didn't do 59. I think you did up to like 57, something like that.
Because the covers, right? Exactly.
I came in to wrap up Season of the Serpent,
right?
And the last issue was supposed to be, was it 60 or 61? Tom was going to be the last issue. Was the one with She-Hulk and all the other female characters on the cover. And of course, it ended with a big splash page, as all of the last issues.
That's exactly right.
But and then the first one after we were uncanceled was Marked for Death.
Marked for Death, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they called me up on April 1st.
Yeah.
Told me that Spider-Girl was no longer canceled. And I said, oh, sure. And I hung up the phone. And they called me like a half a dozen times that day. And I said, guys, I'm not falling for this. And I just kept hanging up the phone. Until I think about 7 o'clock, 7:30 at night, Tom Brevo calls me up and says, listen, I want to go home. You're the last person in the world I want to be talking to right now. But the book is not canceled. You know, I need a plot in 2 days. You have any ideas for a story? And I said, yeah, tell him we're going to call it Marked for Death. And he said, you have a story? Joke. And I said, no, but in 2 days you'll have a story.
I mean, for nothing else, they gotta keep that book going. I mean, again, Tom's a miracle worker. I mean, all you guys are miracle workers.
We were flying pretty fast after that. For several months, and also at the same time, Al Williamson was retiring.
Mm.
Oh,
right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Sal had done. I think Sal did one of the chapters of. Had done one of the chapters of Season of the Serpent as a fill-in, and then Al came in for the last one, but then he was deciding to retire, so we had kind of Sal in place, and he thankfully agreed to become the regular anchor. He had done he had done my fill-ins. A couple of my fill-ins.
A couple of them, and he did I think it was my annual. Yeah, he inked my annual. So
okay.
So
yeah, which was great.
He was a great utility guy for the whole MC2 line. He would
absolutely.
But the whole Marvel line.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking specifically with our stuff. We were able to get him in. He was inking a lot of the Anex covers. Al Milgram was doing the interiors, and he even inked some of the stuff over Ron Lim, as I believe some of the extra features stuff in J2.
Oh, did he? I don't remember that. Okay. Yeah, so, he was great. That was just
we were able to plug him in, and I was happy as a clam. But you know, and like I said, I don't know when the next cancellation was, but when we got renewed that time, I went, "Oh, they're actually seeing my stuff, and they don't hate it." So that's.
Oh yeah, DeFalco Frenz Sema. Yeah,
that was one. Pat already had the cover on the shelf, but I did the interiors on that.
Yep.
Did Sal stay until the end of the series? I can't remember.
He did.
Yeah, and did the second series, amazing, with us, and the spectacular miniseries. Yeah, he was there right up to the end. Yeah,
and we were in some Spider Family book for a while. Sal did that.
Yeah. That I kind of included that under the spectacular banner. Yeah.
Yeah. They kept moving us, all over the place.
I feel like that's like good luck on a Spider book. To give you long life on a Spider book is if you have Sal doing anything on it.
Absolutely.
It's good luck under any circumstances.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had worked with him once, many years before. in the new universe.
Mm.
I don't know why, but he inked the first issue of Kickers Inc.
Oh,
And he was always one of my gods. So
Nice.
that was an amazing thrill for me. But that was a one-shot thing. Like I said, I don't have no idea how it all came about. And years later, when we were working together on Spider-Girl and actually became friends, I asked him, "How was it that you inked Kickers Inc. #1?" And he said, "What's Kickers Inc.?" I said it was a book that I did, that Tom and I developed, and you inked the first issue. I was kind of curious how that came about. And he went, "I have no idea."
I probably called him.
I really don't know. I
Go
honestly
Smashers. That's all I have to say about it.
Yep. You betcha.
Is it like you guys are so prolific that like in the so many years of work, can you like forget some of the stuff you've done? Because like I'll run across like, God, what was it? There was like a Ron. Oh, I think you might have did a cover for NFL Super Pro.
I did a lot of covers for
Yeah, I remember one.
I helped develop that. I think it was Ralph Macchio was in charge of trying to put that together, and I was doing other work for Ralph, so he enlisted me to do character sketches and drawings and develop some of the supporting characters and everything, and come up with the final version of the uniform and stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of that. I didn't do anything other than covers and some of the development work, but I thought it was a cool looking character.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard about it as a kid. I never got the issues. And then recently I found like a few of the back issues. I picked them up.
Yeah, I mean, Fabian Nicieza took the gig because he got tickets to games.
What NFL game?
And it was Jose Delbo, I think, did most of the years. And Mike DiCarlo inked a lot of them and stuff. Yeah, and I don't know how, just me being under a lucky star, I was doing the covers and Joe Sinnott inked most, if not all of them. And it was a neat little gig. I enjoyed it.
And of course, Spider-Man first issue. So of course you got to draw a Spider-Man cover.
And I also got to kind of work with John Romita Sr. because he was doing a lot of the sketches for the cover, because it was a licensing thing. So a lot of that stuff was being developed in-house and had to be approved and all that kind of stuff. So I got to, they were sending me these really cool John Romita quick sketches on vellum, on tissue paper. And I was using those and developing into the full pencils and stuff.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was kind of cool. So, and then they were being inked by Joe Sinnott. So I got to sit there in this pro sandwich. It was a little Ron Frenz sandwich with John Romita Sr. and Joe Sinnott making me look good. So it was fun.
Just waiting for Tom to start selling Ron Frenz sandwiches on the street corner somewhere.
That would be an awful thing.
I'd get one.
Yeah, come on.
I'm picturing something soaking in hot dog water for 8 hours during the day and just getting sloppy.
All right, I'm gonna pass then. Thanks, everyone. Yeah,
you eat too healthy for that.
Oh, I think Ron and Pat, aren't you guys going to be at Three Rivers Con here in a few weeks?
Yes, I am.
We are.
Yeah. All right, I might have to come down. Yeah. We might.
Pat,
we might have to invent the Ron.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Phil.
All right. We'll come up with the recipe for the Ron Frenz sandwich.
There you go. I understand. I saw the seating arrangement. It looks like Ron and I will be right across from each other, staring longingly into each other's eyes.
Not side by side again?
No, we're across the hall from it. We get in too much trouble if we're side by side.
Jeepers. Are you? And did they contact you about some panel discussions?
What? No, yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they did.
I think they're going to do a Spider-Man one with us. I think I'm going to be doing a Superman one because Glenn Whitmore is going to be there, and Keith Giffin's going to be there, and all that.
Well, no, Keith Williams will be there.
Keith Williams, not Keith Giffen.
Keith Giffen will not be there.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm very sure.
I think
Yeah.
it's Williams on the guest.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
That'd be a hell of a get, though, wouldn't it?
it would be. No, I'm not. I'm not involved in the Spider-Man panel, but I am involved in the since I did a Star Wars miniseries
Star Wars panel,
recently.
that's right.
I'll do a Star Wars panel. Yep, I'll be there for that one.
Nice. Very cool.
See
Yep.
that?
Oh,
That
nice.
keeps-
I'm gonna have to come down with my Spider-Girl stack and just like run back and forth to get you guys to sign stuff.
Yeah, the aisles aren't that big, so you won't have to do a lot of
Oh,
running.
cool.
No. But we're, with between Spider-Girl and Spider-Man and Star Wars, Pat just keeps following my trajectory.
That is true.
So,
That is true.
so
I'm
look at this,
batting.
Pat. This is what you have to look forward to.
Wow, I'm
Uh-huh.
sad.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Boy, I thought Pat. I thought Ron was about to throw you like a compliment without injecting himself in there somewhere. But
No.
all right, so all right, all three of you gentlemen.
Ask a question about Spider-Girl. Phil.
I am. I was about to before you brutally interrupted me. All right. So what do you gentlemen and Ron think is the secret to Spider-Girl's success, to her longevity?
I think we crafted a character that we enjoyed spending time with, and as a result, the readers enjoyed spending time with her.
Who's being elected?
I thought that was
What?
they were coming for you,
It's
Ron.
not. It's not Florida woman. I'll tell you that.
Is that you, Tom?
What?
The siren, the police siren.
Yeah, I'm in New York City. Of course, they're police sirens.
All right.
I was like, Marvel's New York City.
We got to get this done. They can be knocking on the door any minute now.
What are you doing? All you had to do was keep him from reaching the elevator.
Hey, I was never actually convicted. Indictments are not convictions.
But if he did it,
Well, whether or not I did it is immaterial. I wasn't convicted.
These days, you said a mouthful.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Phil. I didn't mean to inject myself into that again.
well, since you're talking, well, what do you think about about the longevity of Spider-Girl?
Tom DeFalco is very good at his craft, and everything he said is absolutely true. If you develop a character that is actually likable, that people want to spend time with, it's a lot like with television.
Mhm.
The people who became very famous through television are people that you wanted to invite into your home for a half an hour or an hour,
Right.
and that was that likability factor. They called it a Q quotient or something like that, I think. And I think that's very true with comics, that I think a lot of creators tend to lose track of at times, is that the characters, all the characters, not just the lead, but the supporting characters and everything, if it's a place that is kind of fun to go to and you become fond of the characters and you want to see what happens next. I mean, that's what always worked with Peter Parker for me, was, I wanted to pick up the book every month and see what was going on with my friend Pete.
Mhm.
It wasn't about action figures slamming into each other and punching bad guys and stuff. It was checking in with the characters and the supporting cast and all that. And we really tried to recreate that dynamic with Spider-Girl. I think there were a lot of things that were done right in that pilot that we did, because we treated it like a pilot.
Mhm.
Even though it might just have been a one-shot what if story, we crafted the supporting cast to bring out aspects of Mayday, and we had a hook with the character that she was equal parts Mary Jane and Pete, to the point that she was, whereas Pete was not popular at all, she was popular with the two groups. When she was with geeks, she had to deny her jock friends, and when she was with the jocks, she had to deny her geekiness. And when she found out about her legacy as Spider-Girl, it brought those two halves together and made her feel complete. You know, she didn't have to deny any part of herself to pursue Spider-Girl. And I think that it came through. I'm very, very proud of that pilot issue. Of if, you know, in some bizarre fantasy world where somebody did a Marvel Visionaries of Ron Frenz and I got to pick what was in it, what if whatever number that was, what was it?
105.
105 would definitely be one of the things I'd put in there, because it's a nice beginning, middle, and end, and it introduced the characters and I think did a real solid job of it.
You heard of Marvel? Go. We need to Ron Friends Visionaries.
That's never going to happen.
Right.
Never going to happen.
Got my vote.
I mean, why would they reprint a bunch of Spider-Man stuff? Not like there's a movie coming out this year or anything.
Oh,
Well, I mean, Spider-Girl is also, I mean, she still has her fans, no doubt.
yeah.
I hear about on my Facebook page all the time. But, you know, Pat and I are still doing the occasional private commission of Spider-Girl and those characters. But, you know, she's also been kind of shunted to the side in favor of like Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider, they're calling her these days. And Marvel loved the idea. They liked the idea so much that they kept trying to steal the name and take that away from us and all that kind of stuff. Between Orania and Spider-Gwen and what else? Renew Your Vows with Annie. You know, I mean, it was all kind of treading on the same ground over and over again. I never read it. I know it was Jerry Conway, so I'm sure it was very good. But from what I was hearing from people, they hit a few of the same notes too, as far as with Normie Osborn and things like that. So,
Yeah, I think they have a new Spider-Girl book out now, which is not.
Oh yeah, the one that came out of Dan Slott's run, of Spider-Boy. Yeah, it spun out of Spider-Boy. Yeah, so that, you know, sooner or later they're going to have an entire family of Spider people in the 616 to the point that they're going to have like, I don't know, maybe something like a crisis or something where they clean up the continuity and get it back down to like one Spider person.
You're a genius.
It's a crazy idea, I know, but you know,
I thought you were going to say they're going to have a whole Spider-Verse. I thought that's what you were going to say.
that's right now, man. That's now.
They also came out with a copy of J2. Is that thing still around?
Oh.
I don't know, Tom. I didn't know they did.
I've never seen that.
I know they made Juggernaut a hero, much more of a hero and stuff.
Yeah, no, they came out with a character which was, kind of a carbon copy of J2.
Oh, there was like a teenage
a teenage Juggernaut,
an
an Asian. A lot of the things that was just like
Where do they come up with this stuff?
I'm shocked.
You know, a lot of people ask me, where do you come up with these crazy ideas? And really, we just, apparently read stuff from 20 years ago and do it
What's
again.
old is new again. There you go.
All right, so Pat, what are your thoughts on the longevity of Spider-Girl?
Well, I mean, I agree with both with what Tom and Ron said. I mean, my only addition would be, I think, the addition of me. I think that had a lot to do with it. No, I think it's one of the things that like I said, I mean, Tom and Ron are exactly right. But I think the other thing too is that something we talked about before is that there's a consistency. I mean, when you become a fan of a book, when you became a fan of Spider-Girl, you knew that Tom was going to write the story, I was going to draw the story, and that was be consistent. So every month they got to come back with a new installment of a story that they loved, characters that they've now become connected to, and the same artistic approach every month. And I don't think that can be underestimated as to the importance of a success in comics. I know that's not a thing now as much. I mean, and has been for years. But I do think that there is that consistency. I mean, that book ran for like 10 years all told. that had 2 regular artists, me and Ron. I think that is a big piece of her success.
Oh yeah, just the because these days people are lucky to get what, a year or 2 on a book, and then
Yeah.
6 issues or something.
then they do a new number 1.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for the storytelling aspect, and it allows readers to connect with the characters more quickly and more deeply too, I think. So.
Well, especially because I can remember even back in the day, there were certain books that when something wasn't working and they brought in a new team, the team, they were just starting that attitude where the team was allowed to, get rid of that supporting cast and bring in a new supporting cast and do, specifically, I'm thinking it was, I think it was Joe Duffy told me the story that she was brought on as either the assistant or the full editor on Doctor Strange at one point. And the main thing that she wanted to stand by was when she had to put together a new team because the prior team was leaving, was that several teams had come in at different points and had completely rewritten the supporting cast and everything. And her one edict as the new editor was, you're going to keep the same supporting cast. You're going to pick up some of the plot threads that have been running, and you're going to keep the consistency. And if the editor doesn't insist on that, then oftentimes it doesn't happen. And some creatives might not even be willing to work under those circumstances. But now different runs are considered, so separate that it's, when somebody does a movie or a TV adaptation now, it's like, well, obviously that was from this guy's run because that's this guy's Daredevil. And it becomes even more systemized because it's a new number 1. Everybody, this is going to be my take on the character. I've talked about this before, but at one point Tom did a book. I did several books on the creating of different characters through a publisher, a British publisher, I believe, right, Tom? And he was doing interviews with creatives. What were those things called?
Comic creators on Spider-Man.
And
X-Men.
we did one on Spider-Man. And one of the things that really came out in the course of reading that book, which I actually did, not just my interview, but everybody else's too, is that up to a certain point, everybody was talking about if you were hired to write Spider-Man, you had to find Spider-Man's voice. You had to read the Stan Lee stuff and read the Jerry Conway stuff and read because of all the writers that came in after Stan, Roy Thomas, Jerry Conway, all those kind of guys, up through Marv Wolfman and a few others. It was always about finding Peter Parker's voice and doing right by the character and writing the character the way he had been established. But past a certain Terminator line, it was, I was brought in to do my Peter Parker. I was brought in to do my version of this character. And all this, and so there was an attitude shift creatively between editors and publishers and everything, that if you brought in a certain creative person, you wanted to see their take on the character. And I personally believe that the publisher has to take responsibility for the very thing that Pat was talking about, which is that consistency of the character. Because even if you're lucky enough that certain creative brings in new readership, that's all great, but you don't know what you might have lost along the way too from people who went, I don't know. I mean, I hear that complaint. Again, I'm not reading the material now, so this isn't my own observation. But I hear complaints all the time on social media from people that a certain writer's Peter Parker that's not my Peter Parker. I don't know who that is, but he would never do that. And there's differences amongst the fandom about, who does Peter Parker right. And that's not something I ever dealt with as a fan, because the editors were keeping track of who Peter Parker was. Tom was one of the editors that came on board that took that very seriously. He also hired Roger Stern, who was one of the best Spider-Man writers that ever did the job, Alan Stan and Steve Ditko, but and John Romita. But you know,
when I was first offered Spider-Man, I remember telling the editor, I can't do that kind of dialogue. I'm the wrong guy for this. And I was convinced that I was I was convinced I was incapable of finding Peter Parker's voice or doing the kind of, witty Spider-Man dialogue that
well, you could do half of it anyway, Tom. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Because you're a half-wit.
A half-wit, yes, I got you. But I really was not convinced I could do that.
But you said the same thing when they tried to hire for Thor. What dialogue do you think you can do? Because,
well, a lot of things outside of comic books. What can I say?
I can do like Ben Grimm, and that's about it. I mean, come on. You've done it all.
I can do Ben Grimm.
And do you think, I mean, like you were talking about supporting cast and everything. That's another thing was like when they switch writers, like you said, the supporting cast goes by the wayside. But especially with Spider-Man now, it's like, I don't know, they don't want people to talk about the marriage, or it's like that's over and done with. So do you think that's another problem for Maydays? They're just like, oh no, that's a reminder. She's a reminder of the marriage. We don't.
I think that actually helped us with the fans that weren't happy that the marriage went away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was actually a little. If I can, Tom, I'm going to tell that story. At one point, we were still producing Spider-Girl when One More Day was going on, and they were planning this big twist that the marriage was going to go away and all this kind of stuff. And Tom, just as a team player and having been, editor in chief at some point, and having been an editor, knows how things are sometimes done. He offered up Spider-Girl as a safety valve. That if you find out that this really isn't going your way, story wise and fan reaction wise, that we might be able to use Spider-Girl as a character and as a concept to kind of get you back where you need to be if you find that that this isn't working for you. And the reaction, we were expecting, that somebody might go, oh yeah, we'll keep that in mind. We'll put that in our back pocket or something. But instead, they actually got a little offended that somebody might suggest that that One More Day wasn't going to work. And so it never became anything. And, ultimately we lost Spider-Girl too. But I think that would have been an interesting, something to keep in mind. But I also think that we probably were the last refuge for people that grew up with the marriage and didn't know in any other way other than being married, and Spider-Girl was the logical extension of that.
Yep.
Those pendulums can swing both ways to our benefit and against. I mean, now how long's it been since I got rid of the marriage? Now there's a whole new generation of readers
20 years,
only know Pete post-marriage.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of weird for me to realize that there was a whole generation of readers that only knew him married. Selling really well and everything. So obviously that wasn't the hobbling injury that everybody seemed to try to make it out to be when they wanted to get rid of the marriage, And divorce would have been an option.
No, that's not realistic.
No.
Let's have the devil do it.
It's not realistic. Mary Jane wakes up one morning and realizes she can't take this anymore. She's got an ulcer, and Pete's almost been killed. After Craven's last hunt, it's not realistic that Mary Jane might have wanted out.
She's smoking 2 packs a day. She can't take it anymore.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to make your character human, Feet of Clay is all part of that.
Oh, I didn't get that. They're like they didn't want to divorce Spider. They didn't want to divorce Peter Parker, but they're like, oh yeah, selling the marriage to the devil is fine.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense, does it?
No.
No.
He'll make a deal with the devil, but he won't let a woman who doesn't want to be there anymore go. You know.
Not
No,
our
I
problem.
wouldn't have blamed Mary Jane at all, or Lois Lane, or any of those characters if they wanted out. That seems incredibly realistic to me.
Yeah, definitely.
So why do you think they're so dead set against a married Spider-Man anymore? Because again, it's like DC, they tried it with Superman during New 52, and they're like, I guess, everyone was like, no, we like him married, so they have them married again. But
I think the concern is just that new readers coming in, that you're threatening their a new reader's ability to relate to the character if the character is married. That reads as older. And they want to keep the characters eternally young. I mean, Superman was supposed to be what? I don't know if they still stand by this, but at one point they established he was eternally 29 or something like that. Peter Parker seems to be what, eternally 25 at this point, something right in that range somewhere. I remember. Was it right? It wasn't after they got. It was when they tried to kill Mary Jane the one time where the plane blew up and
that time, yeah.
it ended up she was in Latveria or something like that. I remember during that period of time, at least once every issue, they mentioned how incredibly young Peter Parker and Mary Jane were when they got married, and it was really we were too young. We were just too young. We were too young. And it's like you were graduated from college. We saw that happen under Ross Anderson. So how young were you? But they were too young.
He could battle Fire Lord, but he was too young to be married.
That's right.
There is an argument for that, but I'm not sure it's I don't know if you're between 21 and 25. I don't think you can make too much of an argument about being too young. But what do I know? We never planned on them getting married. We made them best friends, and we had Mary Jane become a runway model, and somehow that became a supermodel and became a first step towards getting them hitched, and that was not where we were heading.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a discussion about, Peter asking her to marry him and then her leaving him at the altar.
Yep. Oh, that would have been a great story. Because she had a perfectly legitimate reason.
Yep.
And then and Pete was going to move back in and take over the attic in Aunt May's place and live back with Aunt May for a while. And but yeah, it was going to be a terrific story where Pete was left at the altar.
Wouldn't have been a dry eye in the house.
Because Mary Jane was trying to get a hold of him, but he was like fighting the Sinister Six or something, and couldn't get a hold of him. And the reason is because we had laid the seeds for her sister,
right,
her estranged sister, and something was going to be going on with her side of the family that she felt she needed to take care of before she got married, and she was called away, and then she tried to call Pete after she was wherever she ended up, and she would try to call Pete, and May would answer the phone, and she had her little boy back, and he was crushed. He was destroyed. So she was protecting him. So when Mary Jane would call, Aunt May would just say, "There's no one here that wants to speak with you, young lady." And then Pete would say, "Who is that on the phone, Aunt May?" And she would say, "No one you need to worry about, Peter."
Very nice.
Nice.
I love that. I love that.
And it's Tom and Ron. And it's Tom and Ron. So like when Peter's standing there waiting for Mary Jane at the wedding and she doesn't show up, there's a shadowy figure over there. So who is the Hobgoblin, but he's in shadow, so we don't know who he is.
No, the last scene was going to be a big crane shot where Pete finally shows up at the church at the last minute because he was fighting the Sinister Six or something, and Harry meets him at the front door of the church and hands him the ring. And walks away and with Liz and the kid, and Pete's left holding the ring, and we crane back, and leave Pete destroyed. Because when you've done all the other stuff you can, I mean, to write a good Spider-Man story, you make a list of all the crappy things that can happen to a human being. You check off the ones that
Crank it up to 11.
exactly. You check off all the ones that have already been done to the poor guy, and what's left is your next 3 years of stories. You know,
Exactly.
Yeah, but even like when you guys were on the book, it seemed like, you know, you could do all this stuff to him, but then you'd always give him like a glimmer of hope. It's like these days, I don't think they even give him a glimmer of hope. It's just like, yeah, you're a loser.
Well, what I became aware of, and I don't even remember what writer it was, so I'm not going to go sticking my thumb into anything. But there were a couple of writers, from what I understand from reading about it on social media, who actually believed that Pete was a loser. And in my personal opinion, Pete is not a loser. I mean, he's trying to do the right thing to his own detriment at times.
Now, don't you know that?
And he might feel at times like the world is shitting on him all the time. But he is not actually, you know, the definition of a loser.
Oh. He could just find the dark cloud behind every silver lining.
Right. And, you know, and that was why it was our great pleasure to give him a happy ending as I skillfully bring this conversation back around to Spider-Girl. And meet him at a time when he retired because he got his leg blown off and settled down to raise his kids, you know, and you know, Tom came up with the idea that he would work for the police department as a lab technician, as a CSI, and I thought that was terrific. You know,
I love that.
Partly because of Barry Allen, you know, that it felt really classic to me, but it also made a lot of sense that Pete would find a way to use, you know, his other talents to serve the public good. So.
All right, I have one last question, and then these two have any questions. But all right, so each of you take your turn. What was like your favorite moment from? What was your favorite Spider-Girl story or moment with the character?
We did this one issue where Spider-Girl is tied to a chair. It opens up with these. She's tied to a chair, and Normie Osborn is about to kill her.
Yeah, I think it was called Endgame.
What was it?
I think the title was Endgame. I think. Was that what it was?
You know, she basically convinces Normie that you know, enough of the old Parker Osborn bullshit. We don't need this anymore, and we can move on with our lives. And I always really liked that story.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
That was actually going to be my. That's actually going to be my answer.
Well, one of you has to say the Invisible Girl.
Well, yeah. So that was the next one, the Invisible Girl. Brilliant story by Tom. I thought that was great. I think that telling that kind of story. I don't know how many books could pull that off. I mean, I think it was just it was a perfect type of story to appear in a Spider-Girl book. And I guess the other story that pops in my head was the fact that I was always a huge fan of the Iron Fist character. Never had a chance to draw him. So Tom asked me one time, is there any guest stars or anybody you want to see in the book? I said, how about Iron Fist? So he was gracious enough to write a really fun Iron Fist story, and I got to draw that. So that was cool. So
very cool.
Yeah, those are my answers. Ron?
Ronald?
Well, those two always get mentioned, and I completely agree with them. I don't know, as far as moments, and there's dozens and dozens of moments that I was very happy with, and where some character interactions paid off and all that kind of stuff. But geez, you know, if we're going to talk, you know, stories that kind of moved us or were kind of important, like the Invisible Girl, they're not talking about Sue Storm, by the way. It was a wonderful story about one of Mayday's classmates who was invisible to her parents and her mother, who was devastated and was always like standing in the background. She was always somebody that nobody really noticed, and it was a wonderful character study of this poor girl, and she's finally noticed by Mayday, and it was really, really well done.
I love that one. Yeah,
and Tom and I did one with where we wanted to deal with it came about from some articles that we had read about teen dating abuse, and he had done a few scenes with Pat, and even more so than with me, where Mary Jane would help May with her makeup after a big fight. And I had a thought that I pitched to Tom that turned into one of our conversations that often turns into a plot, where and all I had was the hook that May was in the girls' room touching up her makeup after a fight, and another girl that she doesn't know sees what she's doing and says, "Your father or your boyfriend?" And May doesn't, first she doesn't block it. She doesn't know what the woman's saying. And she went, no. And then the girl leaves. But then May realizes what she meant. And oh my God. And May can't leave it alone. She needs to find this girl and find out what was going on. And that was a subplot, a B story for several issues, because this young girl did not want May butting into her life and didn't want to deal with it and all that. And it finally came to a head, and we did an issue. And it was the timing was interesting because I think it was after Last Hero Standing. The Last Hero or Last.
I thought it was Last Planet Standing, right?
Yeah, it might have been. I think it was Last Planet Standing.
Right.
So May had just been part of this huge cosmic adventure. And so the title that seemed most appropriate was The Girl Who Fell to Earth. And,
right. Oh my God. Yeah, it's a great story.
And that storyline came to a head. And it was, I think we handled it very respectfully, and we put it out there, and there were help numbers, 800 help numbers in the letter column. And Tom did a little quick editorial about looking into the problem, because it was something that was becoming a bit of an epidemic in high school. So it was something we felt it was appropriate to address in the book, and that character became part of the regular supporting cast after a fashion. So anyway, so that was one I was particularly proud of. But I think we navigated a lot of stories that could have been a real mess, and Tom is very, very good at what he does. And so we kind of dealt with bringing Norman back without bringing Norman back, which is the only way, in my opinion, to bring Norman back. And the clone stuff, we did our own version of a clone saga that I thought played much better than it could have under different hands. So, and April became a character that everybody really seemed to enjoy.
Because I was like, were they still a little touchy about clones? Because I know around issue 40, some Pete's telling May about her Uncle Ben, meaning Ben Riley, but he didn't come out and use the C word clone. So I was like, did they not want you guys to mention?
Well, I know one of the stories. I mean, that was mostly Tom being cheeky. But because one of our stories was called "Did Somebody Say Clones?" But Pete's attitude was that it was a C word. Yeah, he didn't want to deal with it, and he was not very welcoming to April. He wanted nothing to do with April. But I get to take credit for one of my favorite lines when April comes up with the name April, because there was this talk about she was going to join the family. But what were we going to do with her? Because, oh, that's right, you can change your shape. You could just use a different face. And she goes, but I happen to like my face. So what she ended up doing was just changing her hairstyle and everything. And she shows up at school one morning without talking to the family about it under the name April Parker. And the point she makes is, when Mayday looks shocked and unhappy that she's there, she says to the principal, don't blame May. It's kind of an old family rivalry because April always comes before May.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, May? That kind of thing. And it was a wonderful little adversarial relationship and stuff. And I think it played out very well.
Nice. All right, Lilith, Justin, any questions?
I was going to ask if Marvel or Sony or whoever had ever approached any of you about working on an animated adaptation of Spider-Girl over the years.
Did that ever come up, Thomas?
No.
I mean, Mayday did appear in the last, the second Spider-Verse movie. I don't know if she's going to be in the third one or not, but
We'll wait another 10 years and find out.
Yeah. There was talk at one point that Sony wanted to do a Spider-Girl cartoon.
that's what he just asked. Yeah.
Wait a minute. That's when Marvel decided that they didn't want Mayday to be the Spider-Girl that Sony did, because according to the contract, Sony could just do that without paying them. So instead, that's when they decided to rename Aranya as Spider-Girl.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And then when then Marvel sent them the Aranya comic books, and so Sony looked and said, "Yeah, we don't want to do this," and that was the end of that.
There you go. There you go. I mean, Marvel embraced Spider-Girl pretty early on as the first distaff version of Spider-Man, because I remember, Pat. Remember, it was when you were still on the book, and it was within the first year that we got that call from Dana Moore's-Head that they wanted a turnaround for a costume.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was actually something they were considering. They wanted turnarounds.
Like the Marvel restaurant or the Marvel.
Yeah, I can't remember what licensing they were planning, but yeah, that was actually something they had looked into and then contacted us about.
And he had sent some snapshots because they had taken a Spider-Man costume,
right,
and cut it up and sewed it back together as kind of a Frankenstein's monster of a Spider-Girl costume.
Right.
But they wanted one, if they were going to make one from scratch, they asked for a turnaround. And that was back when we were sharing studio space and everything. So
Yep.
we were aware of that. And I never saw pictures.
I didn't either.
A final Spider-Girl costume.
No.
But I still, somewhere at the studio, I have the pictures of the Frankenstein's monster one. and I have seen, some terrific Spider-Girl costumes, either by cosplayers or, I mean, there were a few that were made mass market. You could find them in Halloween stores and stuff like that. The Spider-Girl did get licensed quite a bit because she was the first of girl Spider-Mans for.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it seems like they love the make merch of her. I mean, you got Funkos, you got
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Funkos finally get around to everything, but because they did a bobblehead Funko of April, of Mayhem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have one, and they did Spider-Girl, and they did the first version of Mayhem where she was just a blue Spider-Girl costume instead of the red. It was blue. They did one of those, but they did Bagman too. They did Spider-Man Bagman.
That's right.
So they've pretty much done every permutation of Spider-Man possible. Spider-Girl.
Oh yeah, Bagman. I've seen that. Yeah, merch of Bagman. He was in one of the Spider-Man game, like early Spider-Man games, wasn't it? Like
yeah, he's one of the skins you can tell.
Yeah.
He showed up in Spider-Verse too briefly. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you and Tom ever think that Bagman would, still be at this point?
No, it just
Absolutely not.
it shows how desperate they are. Tom, why are you frozen? Did you deliberately put up just a still picture of you so you could take your pants off?
He's a ventriloquist.
Were we supposed to be wearing pants?
Oh, damn.
I didn't say that, but you put up just a still picture of yourself, didn't you? Did you do that?
He's just moving very slow.
He's not going to answer me.
No.
All right.
All right. Any other questions for these gentlemen and Ron?
No, I think we can let them go. They've been amazingly entertaining.
Yes.
All right. Tom, is there anything you want to promote?
Like this 10-page, 9-page project going with Pat?
Yeah, really.
Not yet. Not
Not
that
yet.
that one. Not yet. But Ron, Pat, and I worked on a story that's appearing, I think, in Savage Sword of Conan number 15
In July. Yeah.
in July.
Right.
Very cool.
It features a Robert E. Howard character by the name of Breckenridge Elkins, who you've probably never heard of, but he's
But you will after it comes out.
it's a fun little story.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun to do. And Pat stepped in to help us out and did a wonderful job inking it digitally. Following
Ron again.
That's right. But
Saving Ron's ass.
we did not follow Ron on the G.I. Joe silent issue that you and I did.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
that's still out on the racks if you can find
Yep.
it.
That's out. And go get it. It's awesome.
It actually is.
It is.
Some of my best writing.
Tom DeFalco shamelessly cashing checks since when did you start in the industry? 1978.
That's in the comic book industry, right?
All right. As I mentioned, yes, Ron and Pat will be at Three Rivers Con. What is that? The first weekend in June.
First
Right?
week in June,
6th and
yep.
7th?
Coming up in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Nice.
And then we'll also be at the Heroes Con the next weekend down in North Carolina.
Yep.
And then I'm going to be, I think it's in August, I'm going to be doing Terrificon.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
But
And at the end of May, I will be in Virginia, Manassas, Virginia, at the Big Lick Nova Comic Con at the end of May. So I got 3 conventions all back to back to back. So I'll be in Virginia, Pittsburgh, and then North Carolina.
Nice.
So come on out.
Big Lick.
I only have a Heroes Con. It's because of my sparkling personality.
Well, after you get arrested, you're not going to be able to do any shows after anyway.
Well, you actually show up at the shows, or do you just send an 8x10 that they put on a stand and
And a cell phone next to it.
sit right there on the table and say Marvel EIC and writer Tom DeFalco?
Most of the time, I just hire an actor to go to the conventions.
And then they just put like a squawk box like the Charlie's Angels, and you go, "Hey everybody, how are you? Nice to meet you. My name is Tom DeFalco. What are you looking at? Are you a wiseacre?
Forget about it.
Your mother. Say hi to your mother."
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom Impersonator. Thank you, Pat.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're not even going to come
Guys.
back on to wave, Tom. Come on. We're waving, Tom.
Shake your picture,
I'm
Tom.
more than you.
Don't you just have like a hand on a stick you can hold up or something and move it back and forth? Jeez, Tom.
It's in the other room.
These guys are going to have a complex.
You know, if I have to get up, then you're going to see I'm not wearing pants.
All right. We're ending the episode right there.
There you go.